The wind howled like a banshee, its eerie wail slicing through the night, echoing through the trees and across the barren land. Waves crashed against the jagged cliffs, their fury echoing the turmoil in the sky above. The sea, a churning cauldron of dark water, seemed to be at war with itself, each wave more ferocious than the last. Rain lashed down, a relentless torrent that obscured the world in a sheet of grey. It fell with such intensity that it felt like the heavens themselves were weeping, each drop a tear of sorrow and rage. It was a night of raw, untamed power, a night when the very air seemed thick with unspoken dread. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the dark clouds in brief, blinding flashes, each one revealing the storm's ferocity. This remote stretch of North Korean coastline was no stranger to storms, but this one felt different. It felt malevolent. The wind carried whispers of ancient curses, and the sea roared with a voice that seemed almost human in its anguish. Even the bravest fishermen refused to venture out on such a night. Their boats, usually bobbing gently in the harbour, now lay abandoned, tossed about by the storm's fury. They huddled in their homes, lights dimmed, whispering tales of the Maiden Ghost. The flickering candlelight cast long shadows on the walls, making the room feel even more claustrophobic and filled with fear. For legend had it that on nights like this, when the storm raged at its peak, she would walk again. The Maiden Ghost, a spectral figure of sorrow and vengeance, her presence felt in every gust of wind and every crash of thunder. Her mournful cries, carried on the wind, sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened villagers. They knew that her appearance was a harbinger of doom, a reminder of past wrongs that had never been righted. Every village has its secrets, every coastline, its tragedies. These secrets are often buried deep, hidden beneath layers of time and memory, waiting to be uncovered. But in this isolated corner of North Korea, the two were intertwined, woven into the fabric of the very landscape itself. The fog that rolled in from the sea seemed to carry whispers of the past, echoing the sorrows and mysteries of those who once lived there. The legend of the Maiden Ghost was more than just a scary story told to frighten children. It was a tale that held the weight of history, a story that spoke of love, loss, and the unending search for peace. It was a stark warning, a cautionary tale whispered from generation to generation. Elders would gather the young ones around the fire, their voices low and somber, as they recounted the tragic fate of the Maiden Ghost. They said she was the most beautiful girl in the village, with eyes as deep and mysterious as the sea itself. Her beauty was unmatched, and her presence was like a beacon in the fog, drawing everyone to her. Her laughter, it was said, could charm the birds from the sky. It was a sound so pure and joyful that it seemed to bring life to the very air around her. But her life, like the storms that battered the coast, was destined for tragedy. The sea, which had once been her friend, became her greatest enemy, pulling her into its depths. She had given her heart to a young fisherman, a man as strong and unwavering as the tides themselves. Their love was a beacon of hope in the village, a promise of a brighter future. But fate had other plans, and their story became one of sorrow and longing, forever etched into the whispers on the wind. Their love bloomed under a sky heavy with stars, their laughter echoing across the moonlit waves. He, with his sun-kissed skin and calloused hands. She, with her long, dark hair and eyes that held the secrets of the sea. They were two halves of a whole, their destinies intertwined like the fishing nets he so skillfully mended. But their happiness was fragile, a delicate flower in the face of an approaching storm. War had cast a long shadow over their lives, a darkness that threatened to consume everything they held dear. When the call to arms came, it was a blow that struck at the very core of their being. Yet, even in the face of such uncertainty, their love remained. He promised to return, his grip tight on her hand, as if trying to transfer his strength to her. His eyes, filled with determination, mirrored the fear that gnawed at her heart. She clung to that promise, a beacon of hope in the gathering darkness. Days turned into weeks, each one more agonizing than the last. She would sit by the window, watching the horizon, waiting for any sign of his return. Weeks turned into months. The seasons changed, painting the landscape in hues of gold and crimson, then cloaking it in a blanket of white. The once vibrant colours of autumn gave way to the stark, cold silence of winter. Still, she waited. With each passing day, her hope began to dwindle, like a flame starved of oxygen. The news, when it finally arrived, was carried on the salty breeze, a whisper that shattered her world. Whispered by the waves that crashed against the shore, the message was clear and cruel. Her love, her life, was gone, swallowed by the unforgiving sea. The ocean that once brought her peace now only brought pain. Her cries of anguish echoed across the bay, a lament that chilled the very marrow. She stood there, a solitary figure against the vast, uncaring sea, her heart as desolate as the winter landscape around her. The bay, once a place of beauty and serenity, now seemed haunted by her sorrow. Her lament was a haunting melody, a reminder of the cruel hand of fate that had torn her world apart.